Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and on today's video we are going to be looking at the switchgear on the GL1000. If I just zoom out of it you can see where we're at. So these handlebars I was told were off a CB750 and they are the same as the ones off a GL1000. They came with the bike, they were on the bike, they looked fine. They'll clean up, so there's no issue with those as such. The cable ends and everything all look fine, they just need a general clean up. That's easy enough. The loom itself looks in reasonable condition. This switchgear on this side looks okay. Everything seems to work, or at least all the buttons seem to work. I've come across this before, but this is interesting because you've got to push for a horn and then a slide for a pass. So we need to meter all the connectors out, the leads out, to see whether all of that lot is working. This side is more of a challenge because we've got several loose wires in here. And we've also got wires that are actually those two down off the kill switch aren't too bad. We need to test that out anyway. But there are cables that are connected up in here. That red and orange, sorry, red and yellow one is literally holding on by a couple of strands, so that one needs to be redone. The difficulty with this is the parts out of there are here, and I didn't take this apart. So what I got was a, when I picked this up, jar of parts, some of which I know for sure are nothing to do with this. That's something to do with the locking mechanism on the false tank. Pretty sure they're not out of there, but who knows. I've also got some spare parts. I've got two of those. That's definitely not off there, that's off a caliper. And that's a spare starter button. So some of these parts here may not be required either. I definitely know some of them are. Those I'm not sure about either. So we need to do a bit of messing around to try and get this all back together. I think the first thing I'm going to do is to see if I can work out whether I've got all the parts I need, because otherwise I may well be wasting my time and maybe better off getting a decent second-hand switchgear. Which brings me on to the next fun part of the puzzle, which is, I think, having done a bit of investigation, there are 3 different versions of this, and the reason I say that is because I've got at least 2 of them, which came in the box of bits. So there's one of these caps which has an off, a pilot and a headlight position, and then the corresponding switch which goes in there. I've also seen one of these which just has an on-off for the lights, so no pilot position. And I've also seen one of these where this isn't even here. The whole thing is just completely blank. And I'm pretty sure the reason for that is because of different markets and what they demand as far as lighting goes. So for instance, in the UK, we have a pilot light, or a side light some people call it, so we need a position for that, and the corresponding headlight has a hole for a pilot light. In some markets they don't have a pilot light. In fact, I've got a headlight which again came with all this stuff with this bike, which is with a sealed headlight in here, so you can't take it out like you can with this one. It hasn't got a clip or anything, it's sealed in there, and all it comprises of is the main beam and the high beam. there is no hole for a pilot light. So that headlight would therefore go with one of these, where you've just got an off and an on position, and that's it. The third option, where none of this is here at all, it's literally all blanked off, I suspect is for markets where, again, they don't have a pilot light, but more to the point, as soon as you turn the ignition on, the headlight automatically comes on. So you don't have an option of being able to turn the headlight on and off. It's always on. So therefore, this side can also be different, because on this side, you can have high and low, but sometimes I think over here you might have high and low rather than on and off if you haven't got an option of switching off. Not sure about that. I may have made that up. So maybe this side is all the same, but yeah, it's quite confusing because there are definitely different options. There's no doubt about it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt off camera to try and work out where all this stuff goes. I'm also going to dig out the wiring diagram and work out where these 3 wires go, because I've got, sorry about the shaky camera, I've got 2 yellows and I've got a blue and brown, and I suspect they all go to what's left of the solder joints on here. So there's quite a few joints, quite a few connectors on there that I could use, but looking at it, there are definitely 3 of them that you can see have had solder on them, and the 3 over on the left haven't. So I'm pretty sure the 3 wires that have come off are on those 3 solder joints. I just need to work out which ones are which. So I'm going to go and scratch my head, have a stare at the parts diagram. I think I've got a colour one I might be able to print out, take a closer look at, and then assuming I haven't kicked the whole lot over and set fire to it, I'll be back when hopefully I know how this goes back together. Okay, so what I've done is I've found a YouTube video which does exactly what I'm trying to do here. It's on a slightly different switchgear. Interestingly, the one he's working on does have LNH on here, so for low and high. So I can't necessarily go with the same colour coding, but this is basically the same, although his has got fewer connectors on. And this is very, very similar layout in here and in here. So I've got a much better idea of how this should go back together, and which bits I probably need to use. I've printed out a sorry, that's strobing. There we go. I've printed out a few screenshots of what it looks like from his video. You can go and check it out if you want to. His name is I think he's called Andy Mechanic, and he's based in the UK, and he does lots of different stuff on bikes. I'll put a link to his to this specific video in the comments below. So there's definitely down in there, right down in there, you can see that wire's almost hanging off, so we're going to take that off. And we'll have a look at what we've got going on in there. Let's screw out, see if this will come out. Okay, that's the whole thing out. So before we go any further, what we can see down in there now is the switch and what looks like a spring and a plunger. So we pull that out. So that's everything out of that lower case now. Somebody's clearly had a go at this before. You can see around here there's hacksaw marks there. Goodness only knows what they were trying to do there. So yeah, obviously this is all a mess. It all needs cleaning up, but we can see there's a little spring in there and a little plunger. So this is our start button, and I'm pretty sure that most of the start current goes through this, because I don't, there might be a separate start solenoid, I'm not sure. It's either the current, there's a lot of current goes through this, or there's a lot of current goes through the kill switch. I need to look at the diagram, but either way you wouldn't do it these days. You'd have a relay in there which would handle the high current, and this would just be a small voltage current of current going through this, which you just flip the relay. Anyway, so yeah, that can be cleaned up. Let's just drop that back on there so we know where it is. But I can see I've got some spare ones of those in all the bits and pieces that I had. So that can go on the pile. That can go out of the way. And then I didn't really want to take all these, this cable is still attached into the handlebar. I didn't want to take it all the way out. I've pulled it out as far as I want to, just so I can work on it. So we can see that that wire is only held on there with a few little threads. So that one's going to need resoldering. I'll do that one. We've then also got another lead in. That's interesting because on his video he's only got one lead going to it, the yellow with the red tracer, and I actually got a black lead going to there, which I'm assuming is a neutral. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, we'll take a look at that on the diagram as well. So an explanation of what I'm thinking here. If we look at what we've got here, I'm looking at the wiring diagram for the UK, French / European version of the lighting, which I'm pretty sure what I've got here. So we've got off, position light and headlight, and basically when you see the two dots with a line between, that means that's the colours that are connected together. You can see the colours down here. So in the off position we've got none of these wires connected, and when I'm talking about the wires I'm talking about, let me see if I can drag this over a bit. What I'm talking about is these wires here, and these two sliders sit inside a plastic part, and they're both set as they are now, and they both move at the same time. So I know it's not that easy to see, but basically that I believe is the off position, and in the off position no wires should be connected together, which if I put my 3 wires connected onto anyway round onto those 3 points there, none of those wires would be connected together, because there's no connection between this and this. So the 2 rails, if you like, so that rail and that rail are both separated electrically from each other. I have to assume that these wires that are already on, the black and the red and the black, are in the correct place. So according to the diagram, the black and the red, which is that one, and the black are there. So let's say we simulate moving the switch across to the park position. What should happen at that point is that our black wire and our brown and blue wire get connected together, but the 2 yellows also get connected together. So if we take this one for a start, so we're looking at black and brown and blue need to connect together. Now I know that looking at this, those 3 end connectors have had no solder on them at all. So if I was to connect the blue and the brown wire, onto that one there, as this slides across like that, that would then connect that black wire to the blue and the brown, which is what it says it should do in that position. What will also happen, if I turn this over, now we slide those back to where we had them. At the moment, if we connected both the yellow wires onto there, and then we move it to the part position, which is there, that would connect that to that, which would be the two yellows connected. I hope that makes sense. So I think that's how the wires go, because that then would give us this combination in the part position of the black and the brown and blue, but also the two yellows connected together. So if we take that to the next logical stage, which is we move it over to the headlight position, what should then happen is that the two yellows remain connected to each other, and the black, the brown and the blue, and the black and the red, all three of those get connected together. So if we then slide that over to the third position, which is there, what we've then done is, if we've got the brown and the blue on there, we have got the red and the black and the blue and the brown connected together. And if we turn that over, this slider would have moved across, and we would still have the two yellows connected together on there and there. So I'm confident that's how that's meant to be wired up. So I'm going to now rewire these as well, get these put on, and then we'll look at reassembling the rest of it. Well, it's several days later now, and I'm still on the switchgear. I say I'm still on the switchgear. I'm carrying on with the switchgear because unfortunately sometimes life gets in the way and you have to do other things, and I've just not had the time to carry on with this. So I don't like doing videos in multiple parts or over multiple days, because frankly I forget where I am or what I've done. So I don't know whether I mentioned it earlier, but I've decided that I was going to leave the patina on these, but I think I've decided that what I'm actually going to do is respray these and then have a go at touching in all this lettering. Not something I've had to do before, so I quite fancy it as a challenge anyway. And also I just happened to be on one of the Goldwing forums Facebook pages last night, and somebody asked the question about what size the ball bearing is in here that gives this detent like that. So you know, in the spirit of giving back to the community, I said I would take that out and take a look at it. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take this out, I'm going to take a look at it, see what size the ball bearing is, and I've got to strip it down anyway because I want to get all this apart so I can spray it. So that appears to just be one small circlip in there. The reason this chap needs the ball bearing measurement, I think, is because he's went running across the workshop and he can't find it, so I'm hoping that's not going to happen to me as well. So I'm going to prise this circlip off for a start, like so. Oh, and that circlip has done exactly what I didn't want it to do. It's landed on my jacket somewhere. Phew, there it is. It landed on the on my sleeve. So let's move that nice somewhere where it's nice and safe. So I'm assuming now this will just pull out, but I'm guessing there's a ball bearing in here somewhere, which is what happened. Okay, I can see it. Right, I don't know if you can see that down in there, but there's a ball bearing just nestled down in there. In fact, it just popped out. See if we can get that out. Where's it gone? There it is. Okay, that is, I'm going to lose it as well if I'm not careful. Alright, it's just sat in there, look. So I'm going to measure that for this chap. And there's a little tiny spring inside there, which obviously gives that its tension. So not only is there a little spring in there, which the ball bearing sits on top of, there's actually a spring underneath this as well. I'll show you that. There it is. Which provides that contact with spring tension as well. Okay, let's move on to the left-hand switchgear. This clutch lever, I think I'm likely to replace that, just based on the fact that well, it will clean up, but I need to work out whether this rubber part on the end is, I don't know if you can see it, there we go. I don't know whether that's original to the bike or not. If it is, I'll replace it because this one's all chewed up. Otherwise, I might just cut this off and then polish this up. We'll see what the alloy's like underneath. But for now, let's worry about the switchgear itself. So we've got one screw, or bolt I should say, with a collar holding our lever in. You can see there it's all chewed up on the end. The alloy underneath looks alright, discoloured, but so I might just dump that and polish that up. I've got some very tiny screws, really tiny one in there. I don't know if you can see that. That's a really tiny screw just in there. And I've got two screws holding the whole assembly together by the looks of it. One there which doesn't look too bad. And that one, which looks pretty stripped out to me. So let's have a go, see what we can find. Right, GIS screwdriver, that's handy. That one's loose. That one is also loose and also stripped. Or rather, the head's doesn't really resemble much of a GIS screw head anymore. It's chrome anyway, so that's the one. Right, that's the screws out. Does this just pull apart? Seems to. Let me turn this over so you can get a better view. Okay. So yeah, it does just come apart. What comes off the handlebar, I should say. I could do with a bit more wriggle room there, so I think what I'm going to attempt to do is to feed this. Feed this cable through a bit more. Right, so similar story with this one. We've got a series of screws we need to get undone. I'm hoping on this one we're not going to have to unsolder any wires, but we'll see as we go along. The left and right hand turn signal. See if that works. So that locks it in place, and a quick flick brings it back over. Same there. You have to be so careful with this mechanism. You don't want this flying all over the workshop. Hopefully it'll all come out in one piece. Well, here goes nothing. apart before. I'm probably going to regret taking it apart now, but if I want to paint all these up and sort them out, it's got to be done. Things we do for our hobby. Okay, so we've got a screw and a washer on that side. Okay, that just lifts up and pulls out. I apologise if you can't see what's going on too well. It's just quite fiddly down here. I don't want to lose anything. Zoom in a little bit. Tweezers. That plate come off now. It's loose. Yep. There it goes. Right, I've tried every screwdriver known to man, and that screw is not budging. It's weird because the head looked like it was partially turned off on it, or cammed out, even before I started. And I can't imagine somebody's tried to get that apart before, but you never know. Anyway, we're going to go in with the Dremel, well, cheap version of the Dremel, and see if we can cut a slot across it, and then use a normal screwdriver. Right. There you go. That's gone. Pick that screw out. There we go. It's not ideal doing that, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, let's try lifting this plate off. Let's remove these rubber pieces. I've got all this on video so I know which way they go. They've got like a round shape on those. That's a completely different shaped one altogether. So whether these are meant to be there, whether they're standard, I don't know. See if we can't get this. Oh, okay. Right, so it looks like the whole thing comes out as an assembly. The only question is that little ball bearing right down in there going to go flying off? Oh. Ah, okay. That's interesting. So this mechanism here is quite similar to the mechanism on the other switchgear, with this brass contact which runs up and down this board to make contact with whichever wires it needs to make contact with. So that's, let's just move that to one side. So what have we got in here? Okay, so we've got this assembly which thankfully has stayed together in one piece, and in fact is held together with little circlips each end. I think there might be a little washer on there. Yeah, there is. I'm going to keep that on there for now. And a spring in there, and a ball bearing which, let's take that out. is there. So that ball bearing sat on there and provided tension for when that was sat in there. This one looks like it's just a plate. Famous last words. Actually, it's not just a plate because there appears to be something coming through the top of it there. What are we actually doing here? So we've got lights high and low. So there's a flick switch there, and this is quite complicated arrangement because we've got to push for a horn and then we slide it for the pass light. Or the flashing light, whatever. Right. Another screw. Okay, and another plate. Luckily, that screw is loose. There we go. Look how tiny that is. That should lift off. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Right. Good job I spotted that. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little tiny nut just there, which must have been on the other side of that. Yes, it's a captive nut. Or meant to be a captive nut. Let me just take that off. Which it does. And again, we've got a load of little contacts and springs and all sorts in there, which we're not careful are going to go absolutely flying. There it is. And that sits over that, like so. I'm going to try and keep that together if I can. Feels like a good fit. Okay. Today. So hopefully, yes. I think I'm going to call that a day there. I don't know how much recording I've done. Like I said, I've had today on it. We've just finished that off. But obviously, I started this a few days ago, so I don't quite know how long this video is going to be. I'll have to work it out when I edit it. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video.